Mental health, mental disorders. Are they different or do they mean the same thing? We are going to find out this month because this month is Mental Health Month. And Nelly, our very own Nelly, our very own transformational life coach, is going to enlighten us throughout the month of May on the subject of mental health. So hopefully you are ready with your pens and paper to take down notes and to join the discussion by commenting in the comment box or asking questions. So, hi Nelly, welcome to this 27th Families Grow Together show.
Yeah, thank you, Aqua. Hello, everyone. I am Nelly Kwasumi, a transformational life coach with a background as a social worker. Welcome to the 27th show already. And this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. So this month we'll be talking everything, or not everything, mostly on mental health. So get your pens ready. If you have any questions, fire them on the chat and we'll answer them. Anything regarding mental health, we are here to talk about it. And most especially because within our African communities, because that's our target, we don't talk about mental health, yet we experience it. So no, it's me. So today it'll be slightly different format from the way I present. So for today, Aqua and myself will just be having conversations to understand what mental health is, very briefly. So I will start off by Aqua. What do you understand by mental health?
Right, Nelly, thank you very much for putting me on the spot. So what I understand by mental health is, just like with physical health, when we can have ailments, mental health is something that affects everybody. It's it's what goes on in our minds, really. So how good are we in our minds? Are we calm up there or are we scattered up there? So there's a difference. I know there's a difference between mental health and mental disorder. So it's important that we understand that we all have mental health, but not everybody has mental disorder, so to speak. I don't know if I've defined it the way it should be defined, but I don't have the official definition of it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akbar, for that. Yes, I mean, people have different versions of definitions. It doesn't only have to be dictionary definition. Like Akbar said, precisely, mental health is a condition of someone's mind, whether they are experiencing mental illness or not. So as Akbar rightly said, everyone has mental health, but there is the misunderstanding when you talk about mental health. People think of mental illness. So just the basics, there's mental health. Everyone has mental health because it is the state of one's mind. But then there is mental illness. So there is a mental health continuum which starts from, or which the two extremes are mental health, and on the other side is mental illness. So thank you for that, Aqua. I'll ask you the next question. How is mental health different from physical health?
Right. The biggest difference is that mental health cannot be seen with the naked eye. Whereas physical health, you can perceive somebody who's got a tummy ache because of the way they'll manifest the pain that they're feeling. Or you can see somebody has a cut on their hand and you see that there is a physical wound. So physical health is different in the sense that it affects our bodies. And we can sometimes see it, even if it's internal, it can be perceived with a microscope or something. Whereas mental health cannot be seen because it's all about your thoughts. It's all what's going on in your brain. And even if brain imaging is, even if they do brain imaging, they'll not see what you're thinking about. So it's all about your thoughts. And the difference is the thoughts and what you can physically see or touch.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, Aqua. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Aqua has explained the difference between mental health and physical health. And not to talk much about physical health, we all can see. For instance, if someone has a broken leg, you can see straight away from a mile to know that that person has something to do with their leg or is struggling with their leg. Whereas with mental health, you can sit with someone next to each other, but you don't know what is going on in their head. And there's just so much, because even psychiatrists, they have different diagnoses for the same symptoms because it goes down to their perception, despite the fact that they follow their diagnostic criteria. But again, the final judgment will go down to their perceptions. So mental health is very, very complicated. And again, like in our African communities, it's been, I mean, when someone suffers from mental health illness, they start talking about spiritual attacks and things like spiritual attacks, witchcraft, and things like that, because in a way, it's very, very mysterious. But in another way, all of us experience it, and it is the way we condition our mind. So little things that we do, we don't realize that they have consequences that might affect our state of mind. So thank you so much for that, Aqua. So what would you say is the difference between mental health and mental illness?
Mental health and mental illness. So, like you said earlier, everybody has mental health. So it's a state of your mind, your thoughts. Whereas not everybody has mental illness. Mental illness is when your mind has now gone, is now disturbed, so to speak. So maybe you're worried about things, you become anxious, and then it's crippling you. You're struggling to do your day-to-day activities. Or maybe you have something like depression where you feel sad all the time. You don't have the, in French we say joie de vivre. You don't want to do things that you normally would love doing. So the difference is that everybody has mental health, but not everybody has mental illness. So one has a stable state of mind and the other is a little bit disturbed or very disturbed until you have to be sectioned.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aqua, for that. Yes, we have, like Aqua said, there's mental health and there's mental ill health. And just to break that down, mental health, like I said, on the mental health continuum, where you have the mental health and the mental illness, there are 3 different stages. You have the first stage or the first point, which is healthy point, where people manage their emotions, their well-being, they have a balanced style, they can manage their daily activities peacefully. But then the second stage is the problem point, where people are struggling, like stress. They really struggle to manage with their daily life and it starts impacting on them. The distress increases and they cannot function the way they used to function. But most people manage with their days, but they really struggle to get through by the day. And then the last point is the disorder, which is the mental illness, where people really, really struggle. They are unable to cope with their daily activities. It really impacts them, either physically, mentally, socially. It really, really affects them because it impacts their thoughts and their behaviors. And unfortunately, this is the state where people easily identify because the behaviors that they present, but then whatever goes on in their mind, people cannot dictate. So then when someone starts behaving like isolating themselves or not talking to their friends or family members, sometimes people think that it is personal, that is because they are being mean or they don't want to talk to them. Probably there's a problem. But without thinking or realizing that this person who decides not to speak to them might be really struggling mentally, and that is their coping strategy. So when someone behaves in an unusual way, please don't jump into conclusion, because you don't know what that person who displayed that behavior is going through. That might just be a way for them to cope with the struggles that is going on in their minds. So in brief, that is the 3 points on the mental health continuum. So Aqua, what are the influences of mental health?
So you mean what things can influence our mental health?
Yes.
So good or bad?
Just before you answer that, because you've mentioned good or bad. Good or bad depends on the meaning you give to anything, because anything can mean anything to anyone.
All right then.
Yeah. So what are the things that can influence mental health?
I would say first things first, your physical health can impact on your mental health. So whether you're in good state of health, physically you're strong and vibrant and full of energy, that can impact on how you feel. So it will impact on your mental health. Illness, well, goes in line with physical health. If you're ill, there's a potential that it will impact on your mental health. Your environment can impact on your mental health. Your family situation, your job situation can impact on your mental health. Your community as a whole, perceptions about life. There's so many things that can impact on our mental health. And all these things that I've said can impact our mental health, both positively and negatively.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, Aqua. Yeah, that's very, very true. There are just so many different factors that can influence our mental health. So just in addition to what Aqua has said, we have the psychological influences. So what are you thinking about? What thoughts do you bring up in mind? Because it is said that everything begins with a thought. So if, for instance, you perceive yourself, or you have this self-talk, or the choice of words you use is that, oh, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, and you tell yourself and you repeat that to yourself, you will also be telling that most probably to some other people. So that becomes your words, the words that you use in your communication, which is why when you are communicating with people, watch out for their words, not actually, just watch out for the words, because the words say a lot about that person's thought processes. So if you have all these, I'll say, negative thoughts about yourself and others, and that is how you project it to other people, it influences you psychologically, how you feel, how you think about yourself. And it could impact your self-esteem. Your self-esteem is how you see yourself. But then if you see yourself as stupid, then obviously you will not be performing the way that you would actually want to, or you are capable of behaving. Then on the other hand, if you perceive yourself to be, I am hardworking, I am successful, that one is like your motivation, because you know, or you think of yourself as a hardworking person and a successful person. You will want to do that because that's positive energy. You will want to do things, unlike the negative energy where you just be like, oh, I cannot, this person, please tell me what to do, and things like that. So the next is the social influence. Aqua talked about this. Your community, what support do you have? What is your social network? Do you have a supportive social network? Can you talk freely within your family, with your friends, in your community about your state of mind? How are the people that you associate with behave when it comes to mental health? Again, in the African community, there's a lot of negativity around mental health, whereby we don't talk about it because of taboos, cultural norms, and just so many things. When I say this, I always refer back to my situation. I experienced mental health problems. So I was on the second stage in 2021 during the COVID when I experienced work-related stress. And it got to the point where I suffer from mental fatigue. So if you don't know what mental fatigue is, like I would be talking like I'm talking now. And sometimes I would not even know what I was talking about, probably in the middle of a word or mid-sentence, and I'll just end there. So imagine putting a full stop in the middle of a sentence. I was really confused because sometimes I didn't know whether it was everything. I was just so confused about things. At some point, I could not remember the day of the month even, just so confusing. And my children were the ones who witnessed all of this. So I had people in my community who were asking me why, because I could not work. My performance at work was significantly impacted. And because it doesn't just start at once, it builds up gradually. And when it started, I was aware of it. And I reported to my manager. I said, I don't feel too good because I can notice that the way I'm feeling is very different. Because, I mean, during COVID, social workers had so much caseloads increase and there was so much to do, and staff shortage was a massive problem. So I just said, okay, I would persevere. But on the other hand, my mental health was suffering. So I came home and I was like, I was feeling really guilty that I was staying at home, not doing anything, not working, because I had put away my laptop, my work laptop, and I said to myself, I want to feel much better, so I will not go on my laptop. I stayed for months and I didn't go on my laptop. But then I would wake up and I didn't know what to do. So that was when my gardening energy kicked in. But when I felt better, I was like, you know what? This is the stress, the burnout is what a lot of my colleagues at the time were experiencing. And though I was home, some of them were contacting me and said, they are struggling, because when we were in the office, they used to come to me and we'll just talk things out. So I started to talk about mental health on Facebook. I remember the first few, when I just started, some of my friends, some people in my community, they rang me up. Some even visited me and said, Nelly, how dare you talk about mental health? And in a way, I was surprised and I asked, why don't I talk about mental health? They said, no, it's a taboo. In our community, we don't talk about mental health because when we talk about mental health, the first thing that comes to mind is mad people, people who are insane, people picking up food from the garbage, from the bins and things like that. And I was like, no, that is not the case. I am the whole person, just like everyone has ever known me, but in my head, which you cannot see, like Aqua had explained, you don't know what's going on in there. And on top of that, I have been explaining that I had worked in the mental health settings, rehabilitation centers, even in the prison, because with people who experience mental health. So I knew and I've experienced firsthand mental health. I know what it's all about. Anyway, all what I was told from people in my community that I shouldn't be talking about mental health gave me the courage to talk about it, because I knew that people in my community are really struggling. And even as I speak now, they are struggling with mental health. And I thought to myself, probably that's something that I need to do. Probably that's part of my calling. And I was like, I will keep on. And which is why today, mental health is something that I'm passionate about. And this month, as it is Mental Health Month, I just want to encourage people, let's talk about it because we experience it. So I know I will be like, Nelly, you like to drift, but it was necessary.
No, that's fine. Very relevant, Nelly, very relevant, because personal experiences are those things that you cannot quantify, you cannot really judge, in the sense that it happened to you. It didn't happen to somebody else. So if I'm telling you my experiences, if I'm giving you a testimony about my life, it is because I experienced it. And because you experienced it and you're sharing your experiences, it enlightens other people. They may recognize some of the things that you have said. Oh, but I was feeling that as well. Oh, I had this symptom. And it can prompt people to go and talk to their doctors or ask more questions or read more and find out more about what's happening. So it is very important that we share our experiences about things like this, especially as you said, it is not something that can be seen with the naked eye. If you see somebody struggling to walk with a broken leg, like you said before, you're gonna be able to say, okay, let me hold your hand, let's walk. But when you see somebody smiling, but in the minds, they are in turmoil, and you cannot perceive it with your naked eye. So sometimes you're like, okay, they look fine, they're fine. And you assume that they're fine and you get along. You do that perfunctory, you're right. So thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you very much.
So, Aqua, I don't know if you've had any experiences of mental health, and if you feel comfortable to share with us, please.
Okay, I have, yes, I have. The past couple of years have been very hard for me. I'm not going to share exactly the details why, but found out some information that was, to me, heartbreaking. And I had a fair few months of turmoil. I must say that I don't know, because I wasn't diagnosed with anything, but there were the days that I was down. There was days that I was really worried and going through things over and over in my head, thinking about things, and you're like, what if, what could I have done differently here or there, or, So yes, I struggled a lot, but I'll probably come to things like, what did you do to get out of it later? But yes, I've experienced it, and I'm sure I've been experienced depression as well. I would say when I had my son and I was off on maternity leave, I had to go in, keep in touch days at work. And they were doing a training about postnatal depression. And when they talked about some of the symptoms, I said, ooh, I felt that. Ooh, I felt that. Ooh, I felt that as well. And so I probably had postnatal depression, but because it wasn't diagnosed, you plod along, you just get on with life and think, oh, this is what life is. And you just do what you need to do. And you get out of it. We come from a place where you just bulldoze your way through life. Whatever the situation is, you just carry on carrying on. But yes, I'm sure if I'd known differently, I would have sought support then. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Aqua, for sharing that. I think it's really important for us to talk about these experiences, because, like, I'll share another of my experience, just so it ties in a a bit with what you've shared, and then I'll extend it. So when I came into this country several years back, I knew that things were just happening. I could not really understand the things that were happening. I didn't know if they were happening for me, with me, in me, out of me, but I knew I knew things were happening. So when I started working with an agency as a healthcare assistant. And then after a few, I think after 1 month, my agency, because I had a very good relationship with my agency, so they suggested that there was a new client that they've had a contract, and the client had mental health issues. And they gave me the brief about this person. This person used to be an international businessman. He used to deal in luxurious cars, but then he had a brain injury. So he had only 3 words in his entire world to mean everything. One was the wife's name, one was in their dialect, which means water, and that water could be for everything. And the other was in their dialect, meant nothing. So those were the 3 words that he had in his whole world. So I read this man's history. I read it over and over because I could not understand. And I went to see this man. You look at the man, very wealthy man in a very massive house with a wife and their children. They were grown-up children. And I would look at the man and I would try to imagine what has gone on in his head when his head is still on his head. You understand? Because I couldn't understand, because I was thinking that probably if I go, I'll see like a scar on his head to show that, but there was nothing. It was just like mine, like yours. So the first encounter, I felt, because I had really mixed feeling, but at the end of that first visit, this client's wife said it was a very, very positive encounter because the husband does not like new people. But when I went, the man kept on looking at me, and at some point he came, put his hand forward, and when I greeted him, he wanted us to go to the kitchen. I did not understand, but then looking like for, what do I do? The wife just motioned me to go. So after we had a briefing, and the wife was saying that it was his lunch time and he wanted to eat. So obviously, as we went to the kitchen, the wife and the other staff came and they knew that it was his lunch time. But then when I came back, I could not stop thinking that what could have happened just within a short time of that man's life, that his whole world turned upside down. And that was something that got me into how the mind functions, how the mind works. I was so curious to find out more, which that helped me to start. I went to uni to do how the mind works, counseling and psychology. But because that experience was something that I kept on thinking about it. I went to my work agency, and I said, you know what? I really like the mental health because I really want to understand. So I did so many trainings with my agency. Like I did depression, dementia, de-escalation techniques. I did so many trainings. And at some point, when I was doing the depression training, I was like, I know that. I know that. I know that. What did I know? the symptoms, just similar to what Aqua said, the symptoms, there used to be periods in my life where I would just cry, but I didn't know the reason why I was crying. I lost interest in so many things. And I was just like, let me just leave. And then I was like, I had that. So just so many symptoms. So I self-diagnosed myself years back that I had suffered from depression for so many years, But since I became aware of, because when I was going through those experiences, I just knew that I was sad. And that is something that in our community, we do not have the vocabulary to explain or to describe what we are going through. Because even right now, I know there are many people, many African people who are really struggling mentally, emotionally. But then when they go to their doctors, what they'll say is they'll give physical complaints. Yes, mental illnesses can manifest into physical symptoms. For instance, anxiety might give you stomach ache, pain, depression gives you symptoms like pains all over your body, headaches, and so on. So people will be suffering from a mental health problem. And when they go to their doctors, they'll be talking about the physical symptoms. And then because the doctors go with what the patient has complained about, they give probably painkillers and things like that, and which is not actually what this person or a person is suffering from. So without this knowledge of what words, what is it that we are really experiencing, we are not doing ourselves a favor. And again, we talked about the stigmas around it. So because we know we experience it, we don't even dare to go talk to a family member or to someone in the community, because what they'll say is, oh, you are even lucky you have somewhere to stay. You are even lucky every day you have food. I mean, then you just be thinking that, oh, probably so I'm very ungrateful. And then you go back and then the process continues. And why I am very, very passionate to talk about mental health and to encourage people to talk about mental health is because like now we have increasing cases of suicide, self-harm, and things like that. They are all done in secret. Why? Because mental illness happens to everyone and it's like a secret because in our heads it's covered. You can't see it. You can't see it. So this is why I really like to encourage us all to talk about mental health. Like when I started, I was being like pushed to the side that no, don't talk about it. But we need to talk about it because without awareness, many of us will keep on struggling. Like you see homicides in spouses. Why is that? It's not it is easily associated, like I said before, to spiritual attacks and things like that. But people develop different coping strategies, and then they don't even realize. So if you can find someone to talk about whatever you're struggling mentally, it will really help you because sometimes it's just for you to talk it out. When the air comes out, you will feel as if you have gotten the solution because we talk to ourselves more than we talk to anyone else. So if you talk to yourself, you listen to yourself and you respond to yourself. Whereas if, like now, I talk to Aqua will listen to me, even if she doesn't say anything, but that word has come out and I will hear myself externally. And that will give me some mental space to process that experience differently. But if I'm just going all over it in my head, it's just information that I'm giving my mind. And because the mind is very creative, if I give negative information, it will come up with those negative information. And then if you give positive information, it will come up with positive information and it will manifest. So yes, those are some of my experiences, and we've talked about the influences of mental health. Aqua, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yes. You talked about the language that we use to describe, the language that we use about us, especially concerning ourselves, and the language we use to describe what we're feeling. And like you said, sometimes you're struggling with anxiety, and you have these butterflies in your tummy, and everything is going on inside. You're uncomfortable, but you don't know how to describe it. You know that you're not ill, as in physically sick, but there's something that's not right. You have this feeling that you cannot describe, and that is because we do not have the vocabulary to really express ourselves. And it's just like, sometimes it's just like pain. Is it a sharp pain? Is it a dull pain? How can you describe it? But you don't have the words to describe the pain, because in our cultures, pain is pain. In our cultures, feelings are, you're happy, you're sad. But frustration is, I don't know whether the word frustration in my dialect, I don't know whether there's the word. So sometimes, because we can use a few different words in English to describe how we are uncomfortable about something. But if I were talking to my grandmother or to my uncle in the village who hasn't got English as a first language, they will not have the words to describe as many emotions as there are. So it's important that we mind the language. And like you said, when we're talking to ourselves, we should look at, just come out of yourself and think that you're talking to somebody else. It will change the way we talk to ourselves. If you look at yourself like a friend, talk to yourself as if you're talking to your friend, the words that come out of your mouth will not be the same as the words that you use to describe yourself when you think you're talking to yourself. So yes, language is very important.
Thank you for that, Aqua. Yes, that's really true. Words. Sometimes people use words and they say, it's just a word that I'm using. But if you look at it, the words mean a lot. And when you listen to someone's, say when you're having a conversation, listen to people's words. Though in communication, it is said that words carry just 5% of the communication. But look at the choice of words. Listen to the tone. Pick up on so many things, and then look at the body language of the person. There's a lot. And you can perceive what is going on in that person's mental world. It's not that you are a mind reader. It's just that the person has given a lot of cues and you are going off those cues, but you cannot conclude on the cues. Be sure of what you are thinking. You need to ask that person for confirmation.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So for this month, let's talk about mental health. Like I said before, mental health is different from mental illness. I can say they are opposites, but on that line, each and every one of us falls along that continuum. And like Aqua and myself have shared, we can identify that we fell at some point at the problem point. And that is where a lot of people fall. So many people fall in the middle, which is a problem point, and they struggle and they still get along, they still get along. Because a lot of people get along with it. We just take it, it's okay, it's normal, we can, but it isn't, because there's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of things that we can do to get over it, to feel better. because we did not come on this earth just to be suffering. No, no, or just to be surviving. No, we came here for a lot more things. So it's for us to become aware of what mental health is and know that you cannot stay fixed on that continuum. You move depending on the situation and the experiences that you are going through. So it is not static. But when we know how to express what we are experiencing, it will give us a different understanding of our situations.
That is so true. That is so true. So, from what I gather, from what we have been talking about, we all, my children included, have mental health, but not all of us have suffered from mental illness. And when you say somebody is suffering from mental illness, it doesn't mean that they're going to stay there forever, because that is sometimes the perception that we get, that if I say that, oh, I've got a mental health issue, then people are just going to start looking at me as that one is mad, that one is crazy, that one cannot cope with life. No, if it's just the same, like I have a headache, I go to the doctors, they prescribe me paracetamol, come and drink it, and my headache goes. When you have a mental illness, you talk to somebody, that discussion could be the medicine that you need. So nobody stays in one place, like you said, forever. Like with physical health, we can be healed from mental health illness. It may go, it may come back, just the same like you have a headache today, next week you have a headache, 3 years down the line, you still have a headache. Doesn't mean that you're called headache or you're called mad. because you were depressed today or depressed next year, doesn't mean that you'll be recognized as a depressed woman. You know, it is not an identity. It is an illness that comes and goes. So yeah, with the right support, we can overcome.
Yeah, just something that I picked up there, Aqua, that I just have to say it, is we have talked about language. So when we say we have a headache, we are taking possession of that headache. So it's not ours. Headache is not anyone's belonging. When you say you have a headache, you are taking it to be personal. And obviously, if you have the headache, then you will not want to give it to someone because it is your thing.
I'll give it to
but
you.
Then we feel a headache because
I'll give you.
You feel a headache. So it is something that you experience and it is not part of you. So, I mean, like, I am trained in neuro-linguistic programming. So the words that we use, we've got to be really mindful of the words that we use, because we possess them words or certain words, like I am stupid. When you say you are stupid, you are accepting that you are, but you are not. And going back to creation, no one is born stupid. You might be labeled stupid, but no one is born stupid. So it's, again, to be mindful of the words that we use.
Definitely.
So I know mental health is a topic that people like. I will prefer not to talk about it. I will not want to hear about it. So I just thought we'll go very gentle on this, because it's something that is very, very important. Even if you don't want to talk about it yet, you can listen. Yet you can listen to it, because at some point it will be good to know, even if you don't want to ever talk about it, to know about it for yourself and those around you. Because, I mean, you will want to help yourself and then help others whom you identify that might be struggling with mental health. Because people will not come and say, look at my head, my head is whatever is good. You will never see. And like I said, even if you use the microscope or you will not see, even the MRI, you will not see what someone is thinking about.
All you will see is brain waves moving, knowing that
Yeah.
it's alive. Something happening, blood is flowing in their brains.
Yeah.
And you can identify where the emotions are, being perceived on the brain, but you will not still know what it was that they were thinking about. So it's important that we talk about these things, and hand in hand, they are not taboo subjects, okay? Talk about everything. So if you have a topic that is of interest to you, come join us. But this month is mental health. We'll focus on mental health all through this month. So if you have anything about mental health that you want to talk about, if you have a testimony, if you have something to share about mental health, please join the conversation. The more the merrier, because my experiences are just mine, and this is just this big. Nelly's experiences are hers, and they could be this big, bigger than mine a bit. But that doesn't even begin to, it's not even a drop in the ocean of mental health experiences. And like you said about the words, Nelly, with neuro-linguistic programming, it's what we say to ourselves, isn't it? The words that we use. And if look at neuro-linguistic programming, I'll go back to the Bible. It says in the Bible that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So your tongue is a small muscle, a small organ in your body, but what it can do, it can light a fire on the forest. It can kill somebody, it can cut somebody into pieces without using a sword. So we have to really be mindful about the words that we use, or with the words that we use here.
Yeah, that's true. So if you have, in this month of May, if you have any question around mental health, please send us a message and we'll talk about it. If you don't want us to talk about the topic on this show, we can contact you because we are here to help. We are not experts in people's experiences of mental health. We are here, we can help you, give you some tools like the ones we have used, the ones we have learned about, and so on. We can share that with you because we are here to help you to know much better, which is why we are raising awareness on mental health.
And we are called what? Hand in hand community. We want to hold each other's hands and walk the journey of life together. No one left behind. Okay, so let's join the force. Let's join our forces. Let's join our experiences. Let's join whatever little resources we have to learn and grow together. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ahmad. Do you have anything else to add before we finish, or are you done?
Well, all I would like to say is thank you for watching. And if you want to contact us or find out more about what we do, because this is our bread and butter in Hand in Hand, we talk about emotions and well-being. So if you want to find out more about what we're doing, you can visit our website on www.handhandcommunitycic.com. And you can send us a direct message on Facebook or use our contact form on the website.
Yep. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next week. We will continue with mental health. There's lots and lots around mental health. So have a great day and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.